So this is the modification I've made to the top movable plate for this Harbor Freight 30-inch sheet metal brake. So when I got this piece here, the movable plate, it was bowed. And I knew from watching other videos that it tended to flex and had to have 3 attachment points for when you wanted to bend anything larger than or near the capacity of this brake. You have to have a C-clamp here, one here in the center, and then one over here as well too. And that really limited the thickness of the material that you can be able to bend, or the depth of the material that you can be able to bend. So what I did is I took some cues from the 36-inch sheet metal brake that I saw at Harbor Freight, the center strengthening truss. So I took some 3/4 inch angle iron, 3/4 inch by an 1/8 inch, and I welded it into the shape of an angle. Then I took this 1/2 inch threaded rod. Now the rod is only welded to the top here. It's notched. The rod is notched, so it fits underneath here and provides more structural strength and support. The bottom is not welded. To ensure that I would be able to take out any bow, I threaded 2 1/2 inch by 13 thread count nuts on here. The bottom one will stretch this and take the bow out of it. There's a lock washer here, and then the top one locks it all in place. I didn't want to weld it just in case I ever had to adjust. Again, 2 nuts here with separated by a lock washer. Once I went ahead and put the threaded rod on there, I could see that this part was weak right here, so I took another, looks like about a 4 inch length of the 3/4 inch angle iron, and I welded it to the back here. It is actually notched to go around the bolt. I wanted to show you this bar on the flattest surface that I could find. The garage floor isn't flat enough, piece of plywood isn't flat enough, but I felt that this granite countertop was. So if you look at it, there is no rocking motion here or rocking motion here when I press on that. So that bolt in there certainly did help take out the bow. Sheet metal brake. It's got some issues that I want to try and fix. If you take a look at here, if I were to measure this point here to this point here, it's off about 1/8 of an inch. Now you can notice there is no space between this angle iron. This angle iron is flush to the surface. Now while the other side was flush to the surface, you can see there's a gap here. The back is resting on the floor. There's a gap here. So the problem here is if you measure it on this side, the back is actually lower than the front, which is opposite the other side. And what happens when I put a C-clamp here and I put a C-clamp on the other side, it actually racks the surface, so that this part here and the metal plate that goes on top of it are no longer truly flat. This is twisted, the bar on top is flat, and this bar no longer evenly contacts the surface all the way across, and the sheet metal isn't held tightly in place. What I'm going to do to fix that is I'm going to cut this foot off here. I'll drop it down the 1/8 inch or so that it's up high, up too high. I'll weld it back in place. Slight rocking back and forth, and this bottom bar is fairly flat right now. I take a screwdriver. This is a groove I cut. I did not cut this all the way through. I just cut it towards the back. I'm spreading it right now. Get a little better feel for it. That's pretty good right there. What I'll do, I'll tack weld it in place here, and then I'll take it off and I'll weld the foot just as strong as it once was. So there I've tacked it, just bridged that pretty big gap. That gap is quite wide. I'll do a little bit more, and then I'll pull the screwdriver out, and I will weld the entire thing across there. So in order to try to make this a quick setup, what I've done is I've mounted these
3/4 by 3/4 by 1/8 inch brackets. As you can see, I've drilled a hole in this side. That's a 1/2 inch bolt. Right now everything's tacked in place. I have the other side done as well too. And what I intend to do is I'll have this wing nut fit on top of it. I'll put a compression spring so that it pops it up. I've seen this on other people's videos from YouTube, and just try to make it a little bit easier, and so that I can quickly change out pieces of metal and set them up again. So this tool obviously won't get used all that often. I hate taking up valuable storage space. So what I intend to do is I will find a place to hang this on the wall. Washers on here. I have to make sure they're back far enough so that if I bolt these down, that the head of the bolt doesn't interfere with the washer here. So these are the last modifications I want to show you. So what I did here is to make it a little bit easier to get the metal in and out from this flat plane here. I added this spring here, welded a washer on here on the bottom, press this down, press this all the way down like this, like that. And then you tighten it down there. So that's it. You can see everything I've done. Again, these washers here are hanging on the wall. I'm going to paint it up in just a little while, and you can see everything that I've done to it.